Brothers Justin and Derek had always been close, but life had a way of pulling them apart. Justin, the younger of the two, was still in the thick of his career, while Derek was preparing for retirement, a transition that brought its own challenges. They hadn't seen each other in a while, and both missed the companionship they had shared when they were younger. As kids, they did everything together: fishing trips, camping in the woods, and countless outdoor adventures. Now, as adults with busy lives, they had drifted apart. So when Justin suggested a fishing trip to a nature reserve they used to visit, Derek jumped at the opportunity. But before we dive into the story, make sure to smash that like button, hit subscribe, and ring the notification bell so you never miss out on our exciting stories. The plan was simple: reconnect over a day of quiet fishing away from the demands of their daily lives. They chose a serene spot in the reserve, far from the bustling city, where they could cast their lines into the water and reminisce about old times. It was early morning when they arrived, the sun just beginning to rise and bathe the landscape in a soft golden hue. The nature reserve was a protected area, and they had secured special permits to fish there under the condition that they practiced catch and release to preserve the delicate ecosystem. As they drove deeper into the reserve, the sounds of the city faded away, replaced by the rustling of leaves and the chirping of birds. The road narrowed into a dirt path winding through tall trees and marshlands. The brothers chatted easily, the conversation flowing effortlessly as if no time had passed since they had last fished together. Both were eager for a day of relaxation, far from the stress and chaos of their regular lives. After parking the car, they hiked a short distance through the marshland until they found the perfect spot. A secluded patch by the water's edge, surrounded by tall grass and reeds, offered both privacy and a beautiful view of the calm lake. It was the kind of place where they could forget about the world for a while. They set up their gear, unpacked their coolers, and soon had their lines cast into the water. "It's a perfect day for fishing," Derek remarked, looking around at the tranquil scene. Justin nodded in agreement. The sun reflected off the surface of the water, creating a shimmering effect that made everything seem even more peaceful. As they sat in their foldable chairs, the occasional bird call echoed across the marsh, and the gentle breeze rustled the reeds. It was, in every sense, an idyllic setting for their long overdue reunion. However, despite the perfect conditions, the fish weren't biting. Hours passed, and not a single fish had taken their bait. But neither brother seemed to mind. For them, the day was more about reconnecting than catching fish. They talked about everything: Justin's recent sprained ankle, Derek's plans for retirement, their childhood adventures, and the ways their lives had diverged. Laughter filled the air as they shared old stories, reminiscing about the times when they had been inseparable. As they fished, they noticed that the day was unusually still. Normally, they would have heard the splashing of fish or seen signs of life in the water, but today there was nothing. The water was calm, almost unnaturally so, and the birds, which had been singing earlier, seemed to have fallen silent. But the brothers, lost in conversation, paid little attention to the strange quietness that had settled over the marsh. What they didn't realize was that something was watching them. Hidden in the tall grass just a few feet away, a predator lay in wait. Its eyes were fixed on the brothers, observing their every move. The brothers, experienced fishermen though they were, had failed to check their surroundings carefully before settling in. In their excitement to catch up, they had overlooked basic precautions, a mistake that would soon come back to haunt them. As the afternoon wore on, the sky began to change. Dark clouds gathered on the horizon, and the once bright day turned gloomy. The wind picked up slightly, rustling the reeds and adding an eerie quality to the atmosphere. Still, the brothers didn't seem to notice. They decided to stay for a little while longer, hopeful that they might finally catch something before heading home. It wasn't until Derek heard the faint rustling in the tall grass behind them that they realized something was amiss. At first, Derek dismissed the sound as nothing more than the wind. "Probably just the wind," he muttered, barely glancing over his shoulder. But the sound was persistent. It wasn't until the rustling grew louder that both brothers paused. The tall grass swayed unnaturally, and an unsettling feeling crept over them. "Did you hear that?" Justin asked, turning toward the sound. Derek nodded but remained calm. "It's nothing," he reassured his younger brother. But the doubt in his voice was clear. What they didn't know was that the predator was positioning itself for an attack. The rustling in the grass had been the first sign, but the brothers, distracted by their conversation and the day's peacefulness, hadn't recognized the danger. Their failure to remain vigilant, something they had always prided themselves on during fishing trips, would soon cost them dearly. Meanwhile, fate was about to intervene. A birdwatcher named Michael was nearby, tracking the rare ivory-billed woodpecker, a bird known to inhabit the marshlands of the reserve. He had been following the bird's flight path for hours, hoping to catch a glimpse of the elusive creature. His camera was ready, zoomed in on the treetops, when something else caught his attention. The two brothers fishing by the water's edge. The scene was so picturesque that Michael couldn't resist taking a photo. The golden light of the setting sun reflected off the lake, casting a warm glow over the marsh. The brothers sat close together, their fishing poles in the water, lost in conversation. It was a moment of serene beauty, the kind of shot any photographer would be proud to capture. But as Michael reviewed the image on his camera, a chill ran down his spine. Something in the background wasn't right. There, in the tall grass behind the brothers, Michael saw movement. At first he thought it was an animal, a deer or maybe even a large bird. But as he zoomed in, he realized that whatever it was far more dangerous. His heart raced as the reality of the situation sank in. Without hesitation, Michael dropped his camera and sprinted toward the brothers, waving his arms and shouting as loudly as he could. At first, Justin and Derek didn't understand what was happening. They saw the man running toward them, shouting frantically, but they couldn't make out his words. "What's he yelling about?" Derek asked, turning to look at Justin, who shrugged in confusion. As they stood up, the rustling in the grass behind them grew louder, but their attention was focused on Michael, who was now close enough for them to hear. "Run! Behind you!" Michael screamed, his voice filled with urgency and terror. The brothers froze, their hearts pounding in their chests. They didn't dare turn around, afraid of what they might see. But then, the rustling stopped, and an eerie silence fell over the marsh. It was in that moment of quiet that the predator made its move. A low, menacing hiss broke the silence, followed by a massive splash. Derek and Justin spun around just in time to see a gigantic alligator over 12 feet long emerging from the water. Its jaws were wide open, revealing rows of razor-sharp teeth. The predator had been waiting for the perfect moment to strike, and now it was charging straight at them. Panic surged through the brothers as they realized the danger they were in. For a split second, they were paralyzed by fear, unable to move, but instinct soon took over. Derek grabbed Justin by the arm and they ran, their fishing gear forgotten in the chaos. The alligator was fast, its powerful body thundering after them, claws scraping the ground as it closed the distance. Michael, still shouting and waving his arms, pointed to a nearby tree. "Climb!" he yelled, desperate to help the brothers escape. Derek, though nearing retirement, scrambled up the tree with surprising agility. Justin, slowed by his sprained ankle, struggled to climb. But with Michael's help, he managed to pull himself onto the lowest branch just in time. Below them, the alligator thrashed and snapped its jaws, hissing in frustration. Its massive body was too large to climb the tree, but it remained below, pacing and glaring up at them with cold, predatory eyes. The brothers clung to the branches, their hearts still racing, trying to catch their breath. For the moment, they were safe, but they were far from out of danger. "Thank you," Derek gasped, looking over at Michael. "You saved us." Michael, still panting from the adrenaline rush, shook his head. "I just happened to be in the right place at the right time." The three men sat high in the tree, staring down at the alligator below. Its eyes were still fixed on them, its body moving restlessly as if it were waiting for them to make a mistake. As they sat in the tree, the brothers had time to reflect on what had just happened. The day had started so peacefully, and now they were fighting for their lives. But as the adrenaline wore off, Justin began to think more clearly. "Why did the alligator attack us?" he asked aloud. "We didn't provoke it." Derek nodded in agreement. Alligators typically only attack humans if they feel threatened or are provoked, but they had been fishing peacefully all day. Something wasn't adding up. It wasn't until they looked down at the alligator more closely that they noticed something strange. A metallic strap was wrapped around its hind leg and tail, and the creature appeared to be injured. "That's why it was so aggressive," Derek said, pointing to the strap. "It's hurt." The brothers exchanged a glance, realizing that the alligator's injury had likely made it more dangerous than usual. But how had the creature gotten hurt, and why was there a metallic strap on its leg? Michael, still processing the events of the day, remembered the camera he had dropped when he ran toward the brothers. "Maybe my camera caught something," he said, digging through his bag to retrieve it. He replayed the footage, and as they watched, they saw something unusual. A small, shiny object had fallen off the alligator during the chase. It had glinted briefly in the sunlight before disappearing into the tall grass. Before they could discuss it further, they heard the sound of an approaching vehicle. The ranger had arrived. He quickly assessed the situation and, seeing the injured alligator, tranquilized it to ensure it was no longer a threat. But, to the brothers' surprise, the ranger was furious. He accused them of harming the alligator, assuming they had caused its injury, which had made it so aggressive. "We didn't do anything," Justin protested. "It was like that when we got here." The ranger, skeptical at first, demanded proof. It wasn't until they showed him the footage on Michael's camera that he realized the brothers were telling the truth. The ranger's anger dissipated as he studied the footage more closely. "Something's not right here," he muttered, examining the metallic strap on the alligator's leg. Intrigued by the mystery, the group decided to investigate further. They returned to the marsh where the alligator had chased the brothers, determined to find the shiny object they had seen in the footage. After searching the tall grass for a few minutes, Derek called out, "Over here!" The others rushed over to where he was standing, and together they uncovered a disturbing discovery: a snare trap. The realization hit them hard. Someone had been illegally trapping animals in the reserve. The alligator had likely been caught in one of the snares and injured itself while trying to escape. The metallic strap was part of the trap, and it explained the creature's aggression. "This is bad," the ranger said, his voice grim. "We've had reports of illegal poaching in the area, but nothing this serious." Realizing the gravity of the situation, the group contacted the authorities. The police arrived soon after, and an investigation was launched. It didn't take long for them to discover that the illegal poaching operation was much larger than anyone had suspected. The brothers, Michael and the ranger, had stumbled upon a criminal enterprise that was trapping and killing animals in the reserve for profit. Determined to catch the poachers, the group worked with the police to set up a sting operation. They placed the snare trap back where they had found it and prepared to catch the criminals in the act. Hours passed as they waited, hidden in the tall grass, tense with anticipation. Finally, as dusk fell, they saw movement. The poachers were approaching. Unaware they were being watched, the poachers walked straight into the trap, thinking they had caught another animal. As they bent down to inspect their catch, the police moved in, arresting them on the spot. The poachers were taken into custody, and the investigation revealed a long history of illegal trapping and poaching in the area. The brothers Michael and the ranger had played a crucial role in bringing the criminals to justice. After the ordeal was over, the brothers were invited to the police station where they were thanked for their bravery. The birdwatcher Michael gave them a flash drive containing the footage of their escape from the alligator, a reminder of the day they had narrowly avoided disaster. Inspired by their experience, Justin and Derek decided to share their story with the media. The footage went viral, raising awareness about the dangers of illegal poaching and the importance of protecting wildlife. What had started as a peaceful fishing trip had turned into an unforgettable adventure, one that taught them valuable lessons about nature, danger, and the strength of their bond as brothers. The experience had changed them both, bringing them closer than ever before and reminding them of the importance of staying vigilant in a world where danger can lurk when least expected.